Welcome, I'm the Deadwood Jedi. This is going to be another Raid Shadow Legends video, and today we're going to be talking about the new #1 clan boss damage dealer in this game. And I'm not exaggerating. This is the new best damage dealer for clan boss, bar none. I'm talking about Acrizia, a new champion added to the game. Not part of the fusion, unfortunately, but an insanely strong champion. If you pull her, you will use her. You will use her in Clan Boss. You will use her in Hydra, and I will have a video showing that after this one. But, boy, insanely strong champion. Insanely strong. And by far the best damage dealer for Clan Boss that we have. And I'm talking about better than Turvold, better than Ninja. And that's high bar, I know. But I think Acrizia is a stronger damage dealer. Now, if in the case that maybe she doesn't do quite as much damage, she's way easier to utilize. There's no turn meter boost, there's no speed buffs. Super simple for clan boss. Not only that, really easy to gear. A lot easier to gear than either of those champions and get to ridiculous damage numbers with her. And I'm going to cover all that in just a second here. I really appreciate you coming by to watch this video, and if you enjoy it, don't forget to hit that subscribe button down below, the notification bell so you don't miss the next one. And of course, if you enjoyed today's music, we have that Soundstripe link down below in the pinned comment description of this video, along with my code Deadwood Jedi to save yourself 15%. And of course, if you're looking for account work, you can find that on my website, deadwoodjedi.com. So to understand why Acrizia is so insanely good for clan boss, we need to look at her passive ability, because this really does everything we want to know about. First off, decreases the damage taken from AoE attacks by 50%. That's an insane ability right there. And this is probably going to be more useful in other areas of games like Hydra than it is necessarily for clan boss. But obviously, if you're building a traditional team, she's going to be insanely good because you only need about half of the survivability stats as a result. Stalwart gear, I always find, is equivalent to about 500 defense, right? So if I usually build a champion of 3,000, I'd build them with 2,500, and they're going to survive about the same amount of time putting Stalwart gear on them. Stalwart mitigates 30% of damage from AoEs. She has a natural 50% right off the top. If I built her in Stalwart set, I probably wouldn't have to worry about building defense or HP on her at all because her survivability stats are going to be through the roof. Now, of course, if I am concerned about that, I just build a little bit of defense on her, build a little bit of HP, and she's going to survive. But it doesn't really matter because when we're talking about clan boss teams, especially unkillable teams, oftentimes you don't need any defense at all because you're unkillable, right? And there's so many unkillable champions out there that's super prevalent now. Well, the second part of this kit is what makes that so incredibly good for her. If a target's max HP is more than double this champion's max HP, this champion's attacks will deal damage based on the target's max HP instead of this champion's attack. That means I don't need to build defense, I don't need to build HP, I don't need to build attack on her. All I need to build is crit damage, crit rate, and if I want her debuff to land, accuracy. Now, I know you're going, why don't you need those other things? Because every single one of her skills is based off of her max, off the enemy's max HP. I'm talking about the A1 skill, the A2 skill, the A3 skill. They all have that enemy max HP, and that's what the damage is based on because of that passive ability. Because every skill is going to be based off enemy max HP, I don't have to worry about building up her damage stat, just her damage, period, right? Which makes for an insane champion. Now, as far as her skills, her A1, decreased defense, a single hit ability. Of course, this skill increases by 10% the damage every time the skill is used, stacking up to 100%. This is the same kind of mechanic as on Ninja. So her damage on that A1 is only going to increase over time. On top of that, based off enemy max AP, it hits stupid hard anyway. Her A2 ability, right? Attacks all enemy 2 times. Places a shield buff on this champion for 2 turns. The value of the shield is equal to 5% of this champion's max HP for each critical hit. So obviously the more champions, the more enemies out there, the higher that shield's going to be. But again, this doesn't really matter, right? Because we're talking about clan boss. And in clan boss, all I care about is that she's getting 2 hits off enemy max HP. These are insanely hard hits. And then, of course, we've got the A3 ability, which is also a 2-hit attack. And this one has an 80% chance of stealing 100% of the target's turn meter before attacking. This effect cannot be resisted if the target has higher max HP than this champion. Again, doesn't matter. Just doesn't really matter because we're getting a double hit of enemy max HP. That's all I care about. The only other thing that's really cool about her kit, I mean, all of her kit's pretty cool, is this aura, which increases ally crit rate in all battles by 19%. That's pretty insane, right? So we only have to build her to 81% crit rate, and everything's going to be stupid hard hitting. The best part, though, as I go into showing you how I built her, is the gear that I can put on her. I have all crit damage sets on her, because that's all that's going to matter. I don't need Cruel. I mean, I can use things like Cruel. I can use things like Savage. Obviously, those are going to have an important impact, but typically those sets are better used in other areas of the game, not necessarily as great for things like Clan Boss. At her damage levels, though, I think Savage would have a really big impact. But I didn't want to go ahead and do that, right? I'm like, I'll keep it reasonable. So I only built her with 348% crit damage, because it doesn't matter what sets I have on her. I just put crit damage sets on her. Like, just bump up the crit damage. It's the only damage stat I need to worry about, and we get insane results. You'll also notice I have a lot of resistance here, a lot of accuracy. Don't need that, right? But I just happen to have a resistance chest piece because it has the most crit damage and the speed I needed. It doesn't matter. She's going to survive. It's an unkillable team, and I don't need any damage stats. So this really opens up a lot as far as how you're going to build this champion. Maybe you don't have crit damage stats. You can still just put your highest crit damage gear with crit rate substats so you can get to that 81%. It's not even 100% you need. Insanely good champion for Clan Boss. Insanely good. Mastery-wise, same kind of concept. Now, I've tested War Master versus Helm Smasher when it comes to people like Turvold, and I found that War Master is just generally better. It's pretty close when you get to really high damage numbers. And Acrizia gets to really high damage numbers, but I still think War Master is going to be your better option as far as that, because you're getting a guaranteed 60,000, 70,000 damage every time. That's going to outpace whatever extra damage we get from Helm Smasher or Flawless Executioner. So I still recommend doing War Master on that. But she's insanely good for Clan Boss. Now, this is a showcase for Acrizia, so I'm not going to go through all the stats of all the other champions here. You can see them over on the right side. So if you're really wondering what stats am I putting on these champions, you can see them there. The sets don't matter, right? It's just about getting to those stat numbers. So that should give you an idea of how I built them. Now, as far as Acrizia goes, I have her at 176 speed. Again, all I need to worry about getting to the speed and the crit damage. If you're wondering about the team I'm using a slow Hellcath unkillable team. That's the team that I'm using right here. I'll generally will have that link down in the pinned comment or description of the video, so you can check it out there on the website if you want to really see how it goes. I don't have anything prioritized. I just want to use her skills. We've got Draco in here, adding some poison, some raw damage. We've got Martyr in here, giving us counterattack, increased defense, and decreased defense on that A1 ability. This is going to help the entire tune, but also we're going to get a lot of counterattacks for Acrizia. So we're only going at a 1-1 ratio. There's no crazy speeds going on here. So imagine her damage if we were taking 2 turns for every one of the Clan Boss. It'd be insane. We are getting counterattack though, so it's kind of equivalent, right? We've got Underpriest Brogni in here, going 175 speed, giving us, keeping us affinity friendly, also making our shields bigger so we survive. And then Hellcath, obviously, keeping us alive and giving us that weaken debuff that we need so desperately. So this is a good team. It's a very good team. It's very fun to run. It takes a little bit of setup in the beginning. This is actually the team that I run on my own account all the time. So it's an easy 1 key. I usually do somewhere between like 75 million when it's bad affinity to about 90 million when it's really good affinity. This is neutral affinity. We're going to see what kind of numbers we do, and I guarantee you they're going to blow my old numbers out of the water. This is going to be insane to watch. Okay, so let's get into it. We'll check it out. So here we go. We start off with that unkillable ability. Nothing big going on there. Everything is going to go. Watch Acrizia as she gets her A1 or A2 going. She does start with the A2, which is kind of interesting as her first attack, right? But that's a really nice one as a shield, right? So that's her prioritized skill. It's good to know. Then we come in, Draco right there, A1. We're going to go ahead and do the A3 here from Acrizia. Boom, boom. Another 630,000 damage. Insane numbers, right? Just insane. And of course, these numbers do improve over time. And here's the part where I just need a manual a little bit so we get everything timed up. Click auto, let it run. It's a super easy team to run, which is why I love it so much. But also really good damage. 239,000 damage. No decreased defense was on there. It's only the first attack of that A1. Insane numbers coming out of this champion. And if we can keep those debuffs up, which we should be able to from this point forward, you're going to see some crazy numbers coming from her by the end of this. Already, we're doing about 700,000 damage with that A2, 700,000 damage with that A3, and we're going to be doing somewhere around 350, I think, with the A1 skill, which is absolutely insane damage numbers. Now, obviously, you know, on counterattacks, we're doing 75% of the damage, so that's why you're going to see lower numbers on those counterattacks, so just be aware of that. If it ever dips below 300,000, we're either missing a debuff or we're counterattacking, which is insane to say, right? And so this is just going to be a great champion. I don't care what level you are in Clan Boss. This is a champion that you absolutely have to put into your team. Just have to, because those kind of damage numbers are insane damage numbers. So anyway, I'm gonna go ahead and let this run. We'll jump towards the end of this, I think, maybe towards turn 40 or so, and watch the last bits of this team so you can get an idea of the damage that she can put out there. Obviously, being able to keep the debuffs up is a bit of an issue right now. We're not getting decreased defense up all the time. We're not keeping weaken up 100% of the time, which is unusual. This team's usually really good about that. But if we can maintain those debuffs, you're going to see her put up some ridiculous numbers like that every single time. Really insane. So anyway, let's jump towards the end, play a little music, and we'll talk about this champ and see what damage she did. 103.88 million damage. I mean, that's insane. That blows out my previous numbers out of the water. At least another 10 million more than I typically do on this comp. And that's usually with Septimus. So I'm extending the poisons. Like, it's insane how much damage she did. 39 million by herself. It's a Tuki by herself. Insanely good champion. Absolutely, I think, the #1 damage dealer for Clan Boss as we know it right now. Just insanely good. And she's only going to get better. The more attacks you take, the more damage she's going to do, right? Now, the Clan Boss does have a limit on, you know, max HP damage. It's not like, I don't think it's a hard cap, but it's more like a soft cap. Like, the numbers above a certain point kind of diminish or so. So it's not super crazy. It's never going to get super insane. We're never going to do the million damage we can do with the Turvold, for instance. But as far as consistency, as far as the numbers go, insanely good. And you know, the fact that I didn't have to build her with any HP, defense, or attack is also really nice. It makes her a lot easier to build. Now, obviously, if you don't have an unkillable team, you got to build some of that in there. But because of her passive, where she takes 50% less damage from AoE attacks, you still don't have to build her with insane numbers, right? You can really ratchet down the amount of defense, the amount of HP that you want to put on her, and she'll still be able to survive, which is kind of insane. So incredibly good. Definitely somebody I recommend. I think just jump to the top of my most wanted champion list, because I cannot... there's so many ways I want to play around with her. So anyway, I'm going to be doing a video on her for Hydra because she's insanely good for that. And I'll see where else I can use her, because I think she's going to be an insane champion for most of you out there. So thanks guys so much for watching. If you enjoyed this, please don't forget to subscribe, hit that notification bell. And yeah, this was a blast. I can't wait to do some more of these videos. Until next we meet, I'm the Deadwood Jedi.